Hi, Channing.
Hi, Ashley.
It's always nice to see you here every year.
Yeah, me too.
So you are a legend in the industry, and you know, in your role sort of with Scripps and a few other folks as a senior advisor, you've got a great sense of a line of sight as to where the industry is heading, and I sort of would love to hear your thoughts on trajectory. What are the biggest business challenges right now facing us and programmers?
So 95% of our revenue comes from linear TV in a big company like Scripps Networks Interactive, and yet we have a gargantuan digital side. And the digital side is not aligned with the television side necessarily. And when those two get aligned, we can move mountains. But we're not aligned right now, especially in support of linear TV. So what we're trying to look at is, how do you morph a company like us going towards the future in a world where IP and digital will become increasingly important? So we have a structural issue, deal with, get the digital side more in line and in sync with the linear side. And then what happens to linear viewing when nobody wants to do appointment viewing anymore? So there's a business model for linear that's worked beautifully well. It has 1,200 events a day, including advertising and content and all of that. And yet when you go to the IP, or when you move from linear to on-demand becomes a subset of the possibility of linear. It doesn't come anywhere close to the economics of the linear networks.
So, I mean, how much does addressability make up, though, when we talk about dynamically inserted, you know, VOD and things like that? Like, how much incremental lift are you really seeing in the value of the inventory once it becomes addressable? And is it enough to even make a step change in value more or less a sea change?
It is, but it's not going to come in a hockey stick. It's going to come incrementally when we can prove the model of addressability, and you can prove that, in fact, the more you get for the addressable ad will make up for the loss in scale of the inventory of linear networks. So we can get there. I don't think it's immediate. I think it's 2 to 7 years, but we'll get there slowly and incrementally. I still think there's a mass audience that's going to sit down at night and watch. I don't think necessarily that the business model that preserves that is going to have the tolerance of watching them sort of drift away. So the point I'm making is, I don't think you can just do it with addressability. I think you have to come up with new models of kind of replicating the linear model in an on-demand world.
And what does that mean for programming when you talk about the proliferation of IP platforms? I mean, the audience sort of makeup, right, is a little bit different.
It is.
And are you advocating that Scripps, for example, needs to start to think about digital-centric programming or digital-only programming?
Well, we do. We have a service called YouLive, where we've done original programming specifically against the millennials, delivered in an IP network. It can be put together as a connected TV event or a network, but right now it's living in digital. We're doing 1 billion streams this year with it. It's pretty strong, but it's a distributed network. It's not come to a website and look at the videos of the website. It's on 150 to 200 other websites and mobile feeds and those. So we're testing how to deliver to the millennial audience.
And how do those CPMs compare to, say, primetime, you know, averages on your scatter
They're
inventory?
much more like a VOD CPM, $25, $30 CPMs, and you're super delivering, and we're getting better at getting data specifically for the use, so we'll get slowly targeted more and more, but it's not necessarily a volume game, it's a specific game, and so it's getting there, but it's going to take years before we really prove the model, right? And we're not doing any promotion for it. You don't have the linear networks have this ability to be, you know, just this loud megaphone for anything you want. It's hard to promote a new brand in the digital space and make people come to it without attaching it to the existing brands. If Food Network had a digital brand, which it does at foodnetwork.com, but it's not doing it as a digital feed of video.
Right.
So we don't get the value of the brand association.
That's great. So I'm excited to talk to you next year and see where Scripps is. I think they're very fortunate to have you as an advisor, but I think that we'll be having a different conversation next year.
I think you're right.
Awesome.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye.
Channing.
You bet.